السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخنا.
عبد الرحمن، كيف الحال؟
الحمد لله يا شيخنا.
نبدأ الدرس.
نعم يا شيخنا.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد. In the last class, in this class, Halqatu Āishah, where we have been reading about the seerah of our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha, Seerah A'ishah radiyallahu anha min Siyar A'alām An-Nubala. We have picked her seerah from the well-known, well-accepted book of seerah in Islam, Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, that was compiled by Imām Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah. We have picked to read about her from this book, radiyallahu anha. In the last class, we discussed two things she pointed to. We are now on the matters after ifk, issues after the sha'an of ifk against her, radiyallahu anha. The first thing we read in page 164 of this seerah regarding her, radiyallahu anha, that occurs in the volume number 2 of the print of Mu'assasatul Risala that we see on the screen. If you have the print of Darul Hadith by Shaykh Ayman Al-Shabrawi, it will be in the 3rd volume of Siyar A'alām An-Nubala. But if it is the print of Mu'assasatul Risala, it will be in the 2nd volume. These books and the checking and the editing differ vis-a-vis the publisher of the book. But the standard copy we depend on in this class is that print from Mu'assasatul Risala that was verified and edited by Sheikh Shuaib al-Arnaout. So it occurs in the 2nd volume of that print, page 164. There, our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha was by illustration inviting the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam to something that has to do with a value she has, the value she has with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, which is a thing of excellence for every woman, that she becomes married to her husband when she was still a young virgin girl, that the girl becomes married to her husband when she is a young virgin girl. In our own times today, people tend to demystify and pretend as if it's not important. But it is very, very important. We can see our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha mentioning it as a thing of virtue and as a thing of excellence vis-a-vis her relationship with her husband, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. She said, Ya Rasulallah, أرأيت لو أنك نزلت واديا فيه شجرة قد أكل منها ووجدت شجرة لم يؤكل منها فأيهما كنت ترتع بعيرك? Messenger of Allah, if you were to rest, take a rest in a place, in a valley, and at that same valley you have some trees meant for your animals, that some of the people have brought their animals and they have eaten from the vegetation in that area. And you, at the same place, you can find some other plants that have not been touched at all. She asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَأَيُّهُمَا كُنْتَ تُرْتِعُ بَئِرَكَ? In which of them both will you bring your animal to feed upon. The Prophet ﷺ answered that the one that he would prefer is الشجرة التي لم يؤكل منها. The trees for preference are those ones from where or from which no one had eaten. And then she said, radiyallahu anha, فَأَنَا هِي, I am that one. تعني أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يتزوج بكرا غيرها. She meant to say that the Prophet ﷺ did not marry a young virgin girl except her. Every woman should note this. Is it a thing of virtue that a woman becomes married to her husband when she remains a virgin girl? And the meaning of this is that every young Muslim girl must distance herself from indecent relationship with men. Every young Muslim girl should and must distance herself from every indecent relationship with the men, with the boys, as long as she remains to benefit from this thing of value and excellence, away from what is common amongst young girls today. They think and say that it does not matter that a woman gets into the house of her husband while not being a virgin. It's a major thing of value. It's a major thing of excellence. Young girls, note this for the sake of Allah. May Allah protect each and every one of us and grant us success in both worlds. The second major thing we mentioned in the last class was what she said, radiyallahu anha, that تزوجني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في شوال وأعرس بي في شوال فأي نسائه كان أحظى عنده مني. تزوجني رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام في شوال. The Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام married me in the month of Shawwal. وأعرس بي في شوال. In another report in Sahih Muslim, she said, وَبَنَا بِي فِي شَوَّالٍ. When the marriage was consummated, it was also in the month of Shawwal. Because for Āishah, radiallahu anha, there was a period of about 3 years between her marriage and the consummation of her marriage. Her marriage was conducted in Makkah, but the consummation of the marriage happened in Medina after the Battle of Badr. So that was a long period, about 2.5 to 3 years, between her Aqdun Nikah and her Walimatun Nikah with the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But here she says to us, تزوجني رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام في شوال. The Aqdun Nikah itself took place in the month of Shawwal. وَأَعْرَسَ بِي فِي شَوَّالٍ. The wedding feast and the consummation itself also took place in the month of Shawwal. Why was she talking about Shawwal? She was talking about Shawwal because before Islam and in the early days of Islam, Arabs feel that when a man marries a woman in the month of Shawwal, they take a bad omen. They say it means that the man will not enjoy the wife. Some say that it means that the man will not have access to the privacy of his wife. They have a lot of interpretations. All of that coming under bad omen. Some say that the woman will not have a child. Some say that the woman will not be respected by her husband if she becomes married to that man in the month of Shawwal. So she came to say that all those are thoughts of Jahiliyyah. All those kinds of thinking are thoughts of Jahiliyyah. And like we mentioned in the last class, Al-Imam Al-Qurtubi also said that in their own time, people would think that marrying in the month of Muharram was also ensure that we he also had consummated the marriage with me in the month of Shawwal. فَأَيُّ نِسَائِهِ كَانَ أَحْظَى عِنْدَهُ مِنِّي. Which one amongst his wives كَانَ أَحْظَى? Which one of his wives had a bigger portion of his attention عِنْدَهُ, in the sight of the Prophet ﷺ, meaning more than I do? Yes, despite the fact that my marriage was in Shawwal, my consummation was in Shawwal, I still had a place, a big place of respect, a big place of esteem, a big place of love in the mind of my husband. So therefore she also would do something. وَكَانَتْ تَسْتَحِبُّ أَن تُدْخِلَ نِسَاءَهَا فِي شَوَّالٍ. So she also liked that the women in her family be taken to the houses of their husbands. Fi Shawwal, in the month of Shawwal. That occurs in the report in Sahih Muslim. These were the two things we discussed in class last week. Today, inshallah, we'll be talking about another aspect of Āishah. Our mother Āishah radiallahu anha. We'll be talking about something different regarding her today. We had previously mentioned how other wives of the Prophet had a sense of jealousy for Āishah. The class today will be about Āishah's own jealousy for the other wives of the Prophet Muhammad. We had previously mentioned, when we mentioned about her, the women, the wives of the Messenger, radiallahu anha, they had some sense of jealousy, al-ghayra, regarding Āishah. But the class today, inshallah, it will be about Āishah's own jealousy towards the rest of the women. Radiyallahu anhunna. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi, that occurs in page 165. The page on the screen is 164. But our discussion will be from page 165. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi this time only went on to quote our mother Āishah. So he said, وَقَالَتْ عَائِشَةُ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said in page 165, volume 2, page 165 of Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, if you have the print of Mu'assasatul Risala, it occurs in page 165. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, وَقَالَتْ عَائِشَةُ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا. If we want to go by the way of Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi in this book, because this hadith occurs in Bukhari and Muslim, we would say that Hishamun an Abihi, Hishamun an Abihi, meaning that Hisham ibn Urwa an Abihi, Urwa ibn Zubayr, because this hadith is from the hadith of Hisham. If you go back to the previous pages, you see Imam Adh-Dhahabi saying Hishamun an Abihi an Āishah radhiyallahu anha. This hadith we want to read now also comes from the hadith of Hisham ibn Urwa, from his father Urwa ibn Zubayr, who lived inside the house of Āishah. So Urwa ibn Zubayr is the one who said, Qalat Āishah. This statement, Qalat Āishah. Āishah said. Āishah didn't say to Imam Adh-Dhahabi. So between Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi and Āishah, the gap is wide. So how did Imam Adh-Dhahabi pick? He picked it from Sahih al-Bukhari. So between al-Bukhari and Āishah, we know the isnad. That isnad went between al-Imam al-Bukhari. He had his sheikh and the sheikh of his sheikh, and he is reporting from Hisham, who is reporting from who? His father Urwa ibn Zubayr. And this isnad is from Urwa ibn Zubayr. So waqalat, in this statement, qalat, who is the person saying that Āishah said? Urwa ibn Zubayr. So Urwa ibn Zubayr, how did we know that? We know that this hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. So if you go back to Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim, the person reporting this hadith from Āishah was who? Urwa ibn Zubayr. So he is the one saying that waqalat. So Āishah radiallahu anha said, ما غرت على امرأة ما غرت على خديجة من كثرة ما كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يذكرها. Our mother Aisha said radiallahu anha, ما غرت على امرأة. In another report in Sahih Muslim, she said, ما غرت على نساء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I did not have any sense of ghayra, any sense of jealousy, alam ra'atin, regarding any woman. So you can think she's talking about all women. No, she was talking about her co-wives. She said, ma ghirtu ala nisa'in nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I did not have ghayra regarding any of the wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ma ghirtu ala Khadija, in the way that I had ghayra regarding Khadija. What does this mean? It means that she has ghayra too for other women. She had ghayra for her husband regarding other women. Or she has ghayra for other women regarding her husband. She was also jealous. She also has that sense of protective jealousy for her husband regarding other women. What does that mean? The scholars explain. They say when a woman thinks about her love for her husband, how deeply she loves her husband, then how possibly deeply the man loves another woman, that makes her feel the love for the other woman may be bigger than her own for her husband. So she begins to feel uncomfortable regarding the other woman, so that it doesn't happen that her love for her husband is less than the other woman's love for her husband. Meaning that the other woman might have loved her husband more than her. Take a man who has two wives. The first wife thinks that she loves the husband. The second one comes and she begins to see that it appears that my husband loves this woman. Now she begins to think about not just her husband's love for the other woman, the other woman's love for her husband. That's what she's jealous about. Because she thinks that it is because the other woman loves her own husband more than she loves the other husband. Her husband. That is the reason why her husband's attention is on the second wife. So she begins to feel uncomfortable regarding the other woman. She thinks loves her husband more than she loves her husband. I hope that this matter is clear. The ulama explained the manifestation of the ghayra between two women. Here in this case, our mother Aisha said, Ma ghirtu ala imra'atin, ma ghirtu ala Khadija. I was not jealous regarding any other woman. The way I was jealous, or the way I am jealous, ma ghirtu, the way I was jealous regarding Khadija. Meaning that the thinking that our mother Khadija had was that it is possible that Khadija's love for the Prophet ﷺ was bigger than her own love for the Prophet ﷺ. So she began to feel uncomfortable regarding who? Khadija. This is the meaning of a woman's having ghayra regarding her husband vis-a-vis other women. I hope that it is clear. She's afraid that the other woman loves her husband more than she loves her husband. So our mother Aisha said, Ma ghirtu ala imra'atin, ma ghirtu ala Aisha. Yes, she has ghayra regarding other women. But the biggest person she was afraid of was who? Our mother Khadija radiyallahu anha. The ulama say this is evidence that Aisha was also having ghayra regarding other women. She also had the ghayra regarding other wives of the Prophet ﷺ. She has ghayra regarding other wives of the Prophet ﷺ. She has ghayra too, apart from Khadija. It's just that her ghayra regarding Khadija was bigger than the rest of the women. So she feared regarding Khadija more than she feared regarding the rest of the women. that their love for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the love of a man and his wife, their own may be more than her own. So she will feel uncomfortable regarding them. I like to cite an incident when it was clear that our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha would also be jealous regarding other women apart from who? Khadija radiyallahu anha. Al-Imām Al-Bukhari rahimahullah and others amongst the scholars of hadith have reported this hadith. The hadith is very, very popular. She said, radiyallahu anha, this hadith is from the hadith of Anas ibn Malik. Al-Imam al-Bukhari reported it, At-Tirmidhi reported it, and Al-Imam Abu Dawud reported it. Al-Imam al-Nasa'i, in a book he specifically compiled about the dealings with women, Ishratun Nisa, he also reported it. Anas ibn Malik said, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كان عند بعض نسائه. So one day the Prophet was with one of his wives. In most of the reports it did not mention which one was the Prophet with. That is, where was the Prophet? He was with one of his wives. But in some of the reports it said that the Prophet was with Āishah. So once the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was with Āishah, فأرسلت إحدى أمهات المؤمنين بصفحة فيها طعام. So one of the Ummahatul Mu'mineen, one of the wives of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, أرسلت بصفحة, she sent a platter of food. فيها طعام, she sent the platter to the Prophet containing some food. فضربت التي النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في بيتها يد الخادم. The wife in whose apartment the Prophet was, that wife hit the hand of the khadim, of the slave person who brought the food. The Prophet was somewhere, alayhi salatu wasalam. Many of those who spoke about this hadith said the Prophet was with our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha. So another wife from another apartment sent some food to the Prophet. He gave it to the slave person to bring. When our mother saw it, she hit the hand of the person carrying the meal, the food. And then, as Anas said, radiyallahu anhu, فَسَقَطَتْ الصَّحْفَةُ, so the platter, the container, the food container, سَقَطَتْ, it fell on the ground, فَانْفَلَقَتْ, and it became broken. In kasarat, it became broken. The hand of the person carrying the food was hit, and the food went to the ground, and it became broken. فجمع النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فلق الصفحة. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam began to put together فلق الصفحة, the broken part of that plate, that with which they brought the food. ثم جعل يجمع فيها الطعام الذي كان في الصفحة. And then he began to also gather the food, maybe some dates, maybe some bread that they brought with that plate. After gathering the broken part of the plate, he was also gathering the food that had poured on the ground. Maybe some bread, maybe some dates, and the likes of that. وَيَقُولُ, and the Prophet ﷺ was saying, غَارَتْ أُمُّكُمْ, غَارَتْ أُمُّكُمْ, your mother became jealous. Your mother has become jealous. غَارَتْ أُمُّكُمْ. Who was he addressing? He was addressing the slave person who brought the meal. غَارَتْ أُمُّكُمْ. Your mother has become what? Jealous. Your mother has become jealous. The scholars say that Āishah, was the one who did that. And the Prophet was in the reports, in other reports of this hadith, It said that the Prophet ﷺ simply went to take an unbroken plate, the same type of plate, but that was not broken, and sent it back to the one whose plate was broken. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And it means that the one who was jealous who broke a plate, she's the one whose plate was broken because she replaced the plate. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam replaced the plate for the person whose plate was broken. What is the point of reference in this hadith? The point of reference in this hadith was that our mother to Āishah, she too, she was jealous of other wives apart from Khadija. So she said here that we read, مَا غِرْتُ عَلَى امْرَأَةٍ مَا غِرْتُ عَلَى خَدِيجَةٍ. I did not show jealousy regarding any other woman the way I was jealous regarding who? Khadija. It means that she was also jealous of other women, except that her jealousy for Khadija was more. So that was why we brought that relation, that hadith, to show that yes, there were women who were in the house that she was also jealous of. In fact, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, Gharat ummukum. Your mother has become jealous. The scholars say our mother who became jealous in this hadith was who? Āishah radiallahu anha. Some scholars say that the person who sent the food was Salama radiallahu anha. That was what Imām Adh-Dhahabi said in his own report of this hadith in Ishratun Nisa. But others amongst the scholars had the view that it was Zaynab bint Jahsh. In either of the cases, one of the wives sent the food, and Āishah was jealous. The Prophet was in my house. We were gisting, and then he sent some food. You see that sense of worry comes in. She feels that, oh, you want to show me that you love my husband more than me. So this is one of the ways that jealousy manifests itself. So she said, radiallahu anha, ma girtu ala imra'atin, ma girtu ala Khadijata. I was never jealous over a woman the way I was jealous over Khadija, radiallahu anha. The scholars say that Al-Imam Hafiz ibn Hajar specifically, Ibn Hajar said, rahimahullah, fihi thubutul ghayrati. This shows that ghayra is real. This hadith, when she said, I was never jealous, ma ghirtu ala imra'atin, ma ghirtu ala Khadija. It shows that ghayra is real amongst women. Women really become jealous of one another regarding their husbands. وَأَنَّهَا غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوعِهَا مِنْ فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ وَأَنَّهَا يعني وَأَنَّ الْغَيْرَ. Ibn Hajar said this hadith, when Āishah said, مَا غِرْتُ عَلَى امْرَأَةٍ مَا غِرْتُ عَلَى Khadija. I was never jealous regarding any wife of the Prophet. The way I was jealous regarding who? Khadija. It shows that ghayra is real amongst them. Women really have that sense of protective jealousy regarding their husband. They feel threatened that the love for their husband is less than the other woman's love for their husband. So she becomes threatened, or she wants to take over my husband. That sense of threat is what is referred to as what? Ghayra. She feels uncomfortable. So Ibn Hajar said, fihi thubutul ghayra. It shows that ghayra is real. It shows that ghayra is real. وَأَنَّهَا. Another point of benefit is that ghayra you are seeing, غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوعِهَا مِنْ فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوعِهَا. That it happens min فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ, from very honorable women of respect and esteem. It happens amongst them too. It is غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ. It is not something that we should say, we should find to be strange. Ghayra amongst honorable women is not strange. If you find ghayra with Āishah, if you find ghayra with Khadija, radiyallahu anha, and we had read previously that the women were also jealous regarding Āishah. If you find ghayra amongst these women, فَهِيَ غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوئِهَا مِنْ فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ. Then it is not something strange. The occurrence of ghayra is not strange. Meant for the Latin nisa, with women of honor and esteem. So if you have two wives, and in fact one day another wife came to serve a food and they threw the whole food away, you should just know that Garat Ahaluka. Our Garat Zawjatuka. You should just know that your wife was jealous. That's why it can happen. It can happen. It can happen. If it has happened with Āishah, then it can happen with any other wife. If you're a man, don't say, this way, this woman, your jealousy is too much. This. The Prophet was just smiling, alayhi salatu wasalam. And as he smiled, he was solving the problem. The broken plate, he went to take another plate of another woman to replace the one that was broken. In that too, he was being just, alayhi salatu wasalam. So if you want to marry two wives, you must be ready for this justice at all times, whether the woman is acting under ghaira or not. As a man, at the middle of it, justice and fairness is your watchword. And that was what the Prophet did, alayhi salatu. Yes, you are showing ghaira, okay. We replace that plate you broke. We replace it with your own unbroken one. So you manage to take the broken one. That was what he did. But as for the occurrence of ghaira, غير مستنكر وقوعها, we cannot consider it strange. Why are women, you women that are righteous women also become jealous too of one another? May Allah protect us. Ibn Hajar said, Fadlan amandu nahunna. If you find it amongst righteous women, what will you now say about women who are not righteous? If you find ghaira amongst righteous women, Fadlan amandu nahunna. Not to say those who are even lesser than them. Definitely you will find. So if you find this kind of ghaira where people scatter people's plates, if you find it amongst the wives of the prophets, you can find something stronger or bigger than that. If you go and marry an unrighteous woman, if you marry a woman who is not righteous, she can even stand up and start boxing your co-wife. That's your problem. So that's why righteousness in the choice of your wife is very, very, very important. It will manifest in everything inside that family. If you choose an unrighteous wife, she can become jealous and then she begins to box you, the husband, yourself. But if you marry a righteous woman, yes, she'll be jealous, but inshallah she'll be minimal in the show of her jealousy. May Allah protect us. So in this hadith we are reading in Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, Imām Adh-Dhahabi said that Āishah, he connected isnad from Imām Al-Bukhari in his Sahih. And this report comes from the report of Urwa ibn Zubayr and Āishah, that our mother Āishah said, Ma girtu ala mara'atin, ma girtu ala Khadija. I was never jealous of anyone from amongst the wives of the Prophet. Ma girtu ala nisa'in nabi. I was never jealous over any of the wives of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Ma girtu ala Khadija. The way I was jealous regarding Khadija. Now she told us why she was jealous. Our mother Āishah reported, why was she jealous? Radiallahu anha. She said, Min kathrati ma kana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yadhkuruha. Why was she jealous? She was jealous because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kana kathira dhikri Khadijata. Kana kathira dhikri liman? Li Khadija. So she said, radiyallahu anha, min kathrati ma kana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallama yadhkuruha. Because the Prophet was always mentioning Khadija, 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 Khadija. So the first reason, men learn lessons here too. One of the reasons why a woman may become jealous of another one from your wife is that each time you are talking to her, you are mentioning that one. You are looking for trouble. So, oh man, if you want to have two wives, be careful about these things. You must not mention one wife too much with goodness. Otherwise, that woman will suffer jealousy. She will suffer ghaira. She will suffer ghaira from the rest of the world. Don't be talking about her always. Oh, my wife. If that wife, her name is Zainab. Oh, my wife, Zainab. Oh, my wife, Zainab. Some men, they've not even married that woman to the house. Every day they go to work, they come back. The discussion with their wife inside the house is, I saw Zainab today. And I discussed with Zainab. She said, you are already creating trouble for the woman inside the house. لماذا؟ لكثرة ما أنت تذكر المرأة. Because you are always mentioning that woman. To avoid this much mentioning of one woman, especially when the mentioning is a mentioning of goodness, it may bring about ghaira against that woman that you are mentioning. So our mother Aisha said, radiyallahu anha, ma girtu ala imra'atin. I was never jealous about any of the wives of the Prophet, alayhi salatu. Ma girtu ala Aisha. The way I was jealous regarding Khadija, ma girtu ala Khadijata. The way I was jealous of Khadija. Why? Min kasrati ma kana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam yadhkuruha. Because of the much of how frequently the Prophet was always mentioning her. In another report by Imām At-Tibyān regarding this matter, he reported with his isnad, and the isnad is sahih, that she said, قالت عائشة رضي الله. Our mother Aisha رضي الله عنها said, وكان إذا ذكر خديجة لم يسأم من ثناء عليها. لم يسأم. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yes, I'm confident about what a good wife. She was a very good wife to her husband. That was why even after she died, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was still remembering her, praising her, mentioning her, asking for Allah's forgiveness for her. If she was not a good wife, if she was a disloyal wife, we are coming back to it. That will not happen. It will not happen like that. We are coming back to it. So one of the reasons our mother radiallahu anha was jealous regarding Khadija was what? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, lam yas'am min fana'in alayha wa istighfarin laha. He was never tired of an yusniya alayha. She was praising Khadija, wa istighfarin laha, and asking Allah to forgive her. In another report in Sahih Muslim, our mother Āishah was still talking about this, her jealousy towards who? Khadija radiyallahu anha. She said, وَإِنْ كَانَ لَيَسْبَحُ الشَّاةَ ثُمَّ يُهْدِيهَا إِلَى خَلَائِلِهَا. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لَيَسْبَحُ الشَّاةَ. He will even slaughter a goat or a ram or a sheep, alayhi salatu wasalam, after the death of Khadija radiyallahu anha. ثُمَّ يُهْدِيهَا إِلَى خَلَائِلِهَا. Then the Prophet will send those parts of the meat to who? To the friends of Khadija. Khadija was not alive. The Prophet was still sending gifts to the friends of Khadija. So Āishah, what do you think she would think? That was why she said, radiyallahu anha, ma girtu ala imra'atin ma girtu ala Khadija. I was never jealous of any woman the way I was jealous regarding Khadija. Why? The Prophet was always mentioning her. Why? The Prophet was always praising her. Why? The Prophet was always begging Allah to forgive Khadija. Why? Even when we slaughter a ram, he will still send gifts to the friends of who? Khadija. This report occurs in Sahih Muslim. Then she said, radiyallahu anha, she said, our mother Āishah, this also occurs in Sahih Muslim, this report. Our mother Āishah said, قالت فأغضبه يوما. So one day I got the Prophet angry one day. Fakultu, Khadija. He said, Khadija, Khadija, Khadija. You know, like saying, if your husband marries a second wife, her name is Zainab. I don't know your husband. I'm just saying, I'm just giving an example. If a woman's husband marries a second wife, the name is Zainab. Each time says Zainab, 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 Zainab. You know, the woman in the house say, what is this Zainab you are even talking about? You start knowing that there's trouble of what? Ghaira. And like we said, that Ghaira is lawful. It's lawful, it's allowed. It's from the nature of women. فَهِيَ غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرٍ فِي غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوئِهَا مِنْ فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ. It's not, we will not find it strange. Oh, are you not a righteous woman? Why are you jealous? Leave her, let her jealous. فَهِيَ غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ الْوُقُوءِ مِنْ نِسَاءِ الْفَضِلَاتِ فَضْلًا أَمَّنْ دُونَهُنَّ. So it's not strange to find a righteous woman jealous. So if you are mentioning the second wife, oh Zainab, oh Zainab, oh Zainab, the first wife can tell you one day, Zainab, Zainab, as if to say, Zainab, is she in our category? In a clearer hadith, our mother said, radiyallahu anha, this one occurs in the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad. She said, فَرُبَّمَا قُلْتُ لَهُ. Sometimes I would even say to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كأنه لم يكن في الدنيا امرأة إلا خديجة رضي الله عنه كأنه لم يكن في الدنيا امرأة إلا من خديجة. Our mother Āishah said, Prophet, is it that it is as if there is no any other woman in this world except who? Khadija. I've heard the woman say that to me before. Sorry. One woman said to me one long time ago, 13 years ago, that when I married a fourth wife, that you are behaving as if you have never seen a woman before. So it can come in many expressions. Our mother used to tell the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, كأنه لم يكن في الدنيا امرأة إلا من خديجة. You are behaving as if there is no any other woman in the world except Khadija. What would the Prophet say? Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. In the report in Sahih Muslim, he said, Inni qad ruziqtu hubbaha. Inni qad ruziqtu hubbaha. I have been blessed with the love for Khadija. You know that one we spoke our mother Āishah the more. The Prophet will say, if you hear your husband saying it, don't scatter the whole house. Just play along the game. That's the marriage. That is it. It makes it the spice in the marriage. So when you are asking him, Khadija, كأنه lam yakun fi dunya imra'atun illa Khadija. If you say that to him, and he says to you too, inni qad ruziqtu hubbaha. I have been blessed with the love for that woman. Don't think that he's paining you. Why are you insulting me? The way you are telling me too that is it only Khadija that is in this world? Me too, I can tell you that Allah bless me. Allah put the love of Khadija inside my heart. On another occasion, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when our mother would say, كَأَنَّهُ لَمْ يَكُنْ فِي الدُّنْيَا إِمْرَأَةٌ إِلَّا خَدِيجَةٌ. It is as if that in this world there's no any other woman except Khadija. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, regarding Khadija, آمَنَتْ بِي إِذْ كَفَرَ بِيَ النَّاسِ. آمَنَتْ بِي إِذْ كَفَرَ بِيَ النَّاسِ. Khadija radiallahu anha آمَنَتْ بِي. She believed in me إِذْ كَفَرَ بِيَ النَّاسِ. When the rest of the people disbelieved in me. She was the first human being to accept Islam. Others say it was Ali ibn Abi Talib. So the scholars will say amongst the women it was who? Khadija. Amongst the young people it was who? Ali. Amongst the adults, male, it was who? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So they distribute it like that. And that is the best. It will make us go out of khilaf. So for the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, look at where the Prophet hung his love for Khadija. It was a love of what? Iman. Amanat bi idh kafara biya an-nasu. She believed in me when the people disbelieved in me. وَصَدَّقَتْنِي إِذْ كَذَّبَنِيَ النَّاسِ. صَدَّقَتْنِي. She accepted me to be saying the truth when the people were saying that I was lying. رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا وَوَاسَتْنِي بِمَالِهَا إِذْ حَرَّمَنِيَ النَّاسِ. وَاسَتْنِي بِمَالِهَا. She supported me with her wealth. رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا إِذْ حَرَّمَنِيَ النَّاسِ. At the time that the people prevented their wealth and their money from me. وَرَزَقَنِيَ اللَّهُ وَلَدَهَا إِذْ حَرَّمَنِيَ أَوْلَادَ النِّسَاءِ. And Allah blessed me with the children from her. When Allah prevented me from having children from other women, He gave me children from who? From Khadija. So you can see these reasons. You are genuine, cogent reasons why he loved Khadija. So when that kind of a woman dies, it is one of the biggest trials for a woman, for a man. One of the biggest trials for a man is he loves a woman, especially because of the deed. You can see it was not just about beauty. It was not just about, no, it was about Iman and support for Iman, support for her husband, being loyal. وَاسَتْنِي بِمَالِهَا إِذْ حَرَّمَنِيَ النَّاسِ صَدَّقَتْنِي إِذْ كَذَّبَنِيَ النَّاسِ آمَنَتْ بِي إِذْ كَفَرَتْ بِي النَّاسِ. So you can see it was about support for her husband. It was about loyalty for her husband. It was about giving everything to her husband. It was about submitting to her husband at the time that the people turned their backs against him, and then she bore children for him. Radiyallahu anha. So these are the reasons for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Kathiru ma yadhkuruha. Most of the times the Prophet will be talking about Khadija. So it will spring up some sense of jealousy with our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha. Kult. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi now wants to comment about that statement of Āishah, that ma girtu ala imra'atin ma girtu ala Khadijata min kasrati ma kana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yadhkuruha. I was never jealous of a woman the way I was jealous regarding who Khadija, the way the Prophet used to mention her. We have known that it's not only mentioning, he was mentioning her. وَيُثْنِي عَلَيْهَا. He was praising her. يَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهَا. He was asking Allah to forgive her. يَذْبَحُ الشَّاةُ وَيُهْدِي شَيْئًا مِنْهَا إِلَىٰ خَلَائِلِهَا. He will slaughter a ram and send some gift to the friends of who? Khadija. And then Khadija believed in him when everybody disbelieved. Khadija accepted him as being saying the truth when everybody said that he was lying. Khadija supported her when people prevent her. And Khadija gave children to her, to him alayhi salatu wasalam. Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, وَهَذَا مِنْ أَعْجَبِ شَيْءٍ. And this is one of the most surprising things. And taghar, that our mother Āishah should still be jealous, radiyallahu anha, min imra'atin ajuz. She should still be jealous of an old woman. توفيت قبل تزوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بِعَائِشَةَ بِمُدَيْدَةٍ. It was surprising how Āishah tagaru min imra'atin ajuzin. She would be jealous of a woman who became old. وَتُوفِّيَتْ قَبْلَ تَزَوُّجِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى. And she had died even before the Prophet's marriage sallallahu alayhi wa sallam bi Āishah, to Āishah, bi Mudayda, over a period of time. So over 2.5 to 3 years between the death of Khadija and the marriage to Āishah. Yet Āishah was still jealous of who? Of Khadija. ثم يحميها الله من الغيرة من عدة نسوة يشاركنها في النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. She was jealous of a woman who had died, but she wasn't so jealous of women يشاركنها في النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, who were alive with her, with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those ones were not her problem. Yes, she had jealousy too, but those ones were not her problem. Her real problems, radiyallahu anha, the jealousy she really had was regarding a woman who had passed away. ثم يحميها الله من الغيرة. لا, he said رحمه الله فهذا من ألطاف الله بها وبالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is from the aspects of the Allah's making things easy for Aisha, making things easy for who? The Prophet alayhi salam. Imagine that Khadija was alive when Aisha came. How would it be? Imagine that Khadija was there, Aisha was there, the Prophet was there. Radiallahu anha. So Allah made things easy for Aisha. That Khadija had died when Aisha became married to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imām Adh-Dhahabi said that Allah made things easy for Aisha. لِأَلَّا يَتَكَدَّرَ عَيْشُهَا, so that life will not become difficult for her. وَلَعَلَّهُ إِنَّمَا خَفَّفَ أَمْرَ الْغَيْرَةِ عَلَيْهَا حُبُّ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم لها وميله إليها. And then another thing that could make the ghaira Aisha had over Khadija, what made it lesser also, was the Prophet's show of love to Aisha. That one will also make it reduced for our mother Aisha to have ghaira regarding who? Khadija, and much of his playing with her, bringing her close, to make it easy for Aisha to radiallahu anha, to make the jealousy less. But as less as that jealousy was regarding Khadija, it was still a jealousy that she felt radiallahu anha wa ardaha. So Imām Adh-Dhahabi ended it and said, radiallahu anha وأرضاها. Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, قلت وهذا من أعجب شيء أن تغار رضي الله عنها من امرأة أجوز توفيت قبل تزوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعائشة بمديدة. One of the things that would be surprising is that Aisha should still have jealousy for a woman after she had died. And it was even after a few years after that woman had died that Aisha radiallahu anha got married by the Prophet. ثم يحميها الله من الغيرة من عدة نسوة يشاركنها في النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then Allah protected Aisha. Her jealousy regarding those women that were alive with her, who were co-wives with her, with the Prophet alayhi salam. It wasn't as serious as her jealousy over Khadija. It was Allah's way of protecting Aisha. Radiallahu anhu. فَهَذَا مِنْ أَلْطَافِ اللَّهِ بِهَا. It was Allah's way of making things easy for Aisha. وَبِنَبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And to make things easy for the Prophet. لِأَلَّا يَتَكَدَّرُ عَيْشُهَا. So that life will not be difficult for Aisha. Imagine that Khadija was alive and then Aisha was alive, the two of them together inside the house of the Prophet. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It will be difficult to beat. But Allah has a way of bringing ease to the servants. وَلَعَلَّهُ إِنَّمَا خَفَّفَ أَمْرَ الْغَيْرَةِ عَلَيْهَا. Another thing perhaps, maybe, that made Aisha's ghaira regarding Khadija to be lesser. The first one was that Khadija was not there, so the ghaira was less. The second one was that perhaps حُبُّ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ لَهَا, the Prophet's show of love and real love for Khadija, for Aisha, that one too will make the sense of jealousy Aisha felt regarding Khadija to be less. وَمَيْلُهُ إِلَيْهَا, and he's bringing her close to himself, being so inclined towards her, will make her love, will make her ghaira regarding Khadija to be reduced. فَرَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا وَأَرْضَاهَا. May Allah be pleased with our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. We quickly read because I like us to conclude this portion in this class today. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi went on and said in the second paragraph, مَعْمَرٌ عن الزهري عن عروة عن عائشة رضي الله عنها. Ma'amar is Al-Imam Ma'amar ibn Rashid al-Yamani rahimahullah. And Zuhri is reporting from one of his best teachers, one of those who best reported from Al-Imam al-Zuhri, Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Shihab ibn al-Zuhri, was who? Ma'amar ibn Rashid. It's a very, very sound isnad we are handling, inshallah. So Ma'amar ibn Rashid is reporting from Al-Imam al-Zuhri, who is reporting from who? Urwa ibn Zubayr again. The last hadith we read was from who? Urwa ibn Zubayr. This hadith is also from who? Urwa ibn Zubayr. Urwa ibn Zubayr grew up inside the house of Aisha radiallahu anha, and he's reporting from Āishah that دخلت امرأة سوداء على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. A dark complexioned woman, it was Āishah talking, so she saw the complexion. A dark complexioned woman came to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. فأقبل عليها. So the Prophet received her. The woman came to visit, so the Prophet received the woman, gave her a warm reception. قالت, our mother Āishah said, فقلت. So afterwards I said, Ya Rasulallah, you know women, radiyallahu an wardahum. She said, O Messenger of Allah, akbalta ala hadhihi sawda, hadha al-ikbal. You gave this black woman, this dark complexion woman, this kind of a reception. Hey, why did you receive this woman like this? Radiyallahu anha. You know, that's part of it. A woman should feel a sense of protection, protective jealousy also regarding her husband. Don't forget, we have explained how Gaira works. The woman begins to think that maybe the other person loves her husband more than she loves her own husband. So she begins to react to the other woman, fearing that the other woman's love for her husband is bigger than her own love for her husband. So a woman came to visit in the house, an old woman, dark complexion. She came to visit in the house of the Prophet. So the Prophet received her, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And our mother Āishah radiallahu anha was saying, Akbalta ala hadhihi sawda. You gave this kind of reception to this dark-skinned woman, hadha al-ikbal, this kind of a powerful reception, taking care of her. Oh brother, if your wife asks you this question, don't feel offended. The Prophet was also asked to. Alayhi salatu wasalam. A woman, especially most of the stars, a woman came to the house, I want to see Sheikh so. I want to see Ustaz so. And when he hears, please come in. So when the woman leaves, the women begin to ask her, Sheikh, your reception for this woman was much. So don't feel bad. They have asked the Prophet too the same question. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. When he heard that from Āishah, the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, إِنَّهَا كَانَتْ تَدْخُلُ عَلَى خَدِيجَةَ. That woman used to come and visit Khadijah. Radiyallahu anha. وَإِنَّ حُسْنَ الْأَهْدِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. وَإِنَّ حُسْنَ الْأَهْدِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. A nice time with people. You remember the nice times you spend with people. Maybe they had a nice time with that woman. When the woman would come, she would remember, Khadija, let me go and visit the house of Khadija. So she would come. She was a woman, she used to come to us when Khadija was here. It's like a reminder of the nice time. So I welcome her the way I used to welcome her that time. Don't forget, she's a friend to my wife who passed away. I'm welcoming her, receiving her, taking care of her in that visit, the way I used to do, and the way we used to welcome her when Khadija was alive. He said, alayhi salatu, وَإِنَّ حُسْنَ الْأَهْدِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. For you to remember the nice, good old days and behave like that too is part of Iman. Don't forget. There's a similar hadith to this, وَمِثْلُهُ عن Āishah, that Al-Imām Al-Bukhari rahimahullah and Al-Imām Muslim have both reported. I'm sure I'm going to answer a lot of questions today. Al-Imām Al-Bukhari rahimahullah and Al-Imām Muslim have reported a similar hadith from Āishah radiyallahu anha. استأذنت هالة بنت خويلد. خالة بنت خويلد. خالة بنت خويلد رضي الله عنها أخت خديجة استأذنت على رسول الله. Hala. What is her name? Hala. She's not Khala. She's what? Hala. The ha. She came asking for permission to come and greet the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَعَرَفَ اسْتِئْذَانَ خَدِيجَةَ. So the Prophet remembered the way Khadija used to say permission to enter the house. Hala, the sister of who? Khadija bint Khuwaylid. What's her name? Hala. She came to ask for permission to enter, to come in and greet the Prophet. So the Prophet would remember, because it's her younger sister. I have seen this. You will think it will appear to you as if it's your wife, but it's her younger sister. So Hala came to ask. In fact, the voice would be almost the same. Maybe the height would be the same. Maybe even the way they smile may be the same. Maybe the way they talk will be the same. You know, I have seen this before. So Hala too ista'adhanat ala Rasulillah fa'arafa istizana Khadija. So the Prophet recognized, as if to say it was Khadija that was making the permission. Farta'a li dhalika. So the Prophet was excited by that. فقال, so he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma hala, Allahumma hala, God, hala, God, God, hala, God, hala. And that was in the presence of Āishah, radiyallahu anha. She said, fagirtu, radiyallahu anha. She was clear. Some women will not be clear. Our mother Āishah said, fagirtu, I became what? Jealous. Because the Prophet was greeting the younger sister of Khadija. God, hala, God, hala, hala, hala. You know, some women, they start saying, what is hala, hala, hala? Radiallahu anhum. So the Prophet did that, and our mother said, fagirtu, so I became jealous. Fakult. So I said to the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ma tazkur an ajuz. What are you remembering about a woman who was an old woman? Min ajaiz Quraysh. From the old women of Quraysh. Hamra ishidqain. Her two jaws were already reddish. Halakat fi dahri. She had died long time ago. Waqad abdalaka Allahu khayra minha. When Allah has replaced her with something better than that. Why are you thinking about that woman? That woman, she is old now. What are you thinking? ما تذكر من عجوز من عجائز قريش حمراء الشدقين هلكت في الدهر وقد أبدلك الله خيرا منها. Look at what our mother said, Āishah. Don't forget, Ghaira is real. Ghaira is real. Ghaira is established. So Āishah was saying to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ما تذكر من عجوز من عجائز قريش. What are you remembering about a woman who was old, from the old women of Quraysh, radiyallahu anhuma, Hamra ish-shidqayn. Her jaws were reddish. You know, reddish jaws show that the person was elderly. Radiyallahu anha. Halakat fi dahri. She had died long ago. وَقَدْ أَبْدَلَكَ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا. And me, I'm here. Allah has refused me to replace her. Why are you still thinking about that word? She has died long. Halakat fi dahri. She didn't die since me, I'm here. Abdalaka Allahu khairan minha. Allah has replaced that one with another young one. Me, I'm here. Radiyallahu anha. This hadith occurs in Bukhari and Muslim. All of these, like we read from Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar, just goes to show that he is thubutul ghaira. It shows that ghaira is something you find amongst the women. وَأَنَّهَا غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوئِهَا مِنْ فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ. And the ghaira is not something you find strange amongst noble women of esteem. It's not strange. We righteous women too, you see ghaira amongst them. Radiyallahu anhunna. Fadlan amman dunahunna. Not to even say women who are not righteous like these women we are talking about. So if you are a man, you want to marry two wives, think well and know if you are not a very intelligent woman who can manage these things properly, don't try to marry a second wife. Just stay with your one like that. But if you want to get to marry a second woman, it's a major thing. You must be intelligent to be able to manage ghaira amongst the women. Of course, even though you marry one wife, like we saw here, if a woman came to the house and you welcome her too much, the wife too will say, why are you welcoming that? Yes, you have one wife, you may not be thinking of marrying a second woman. If you go and buy something somewhere, someone visits, welcome, Barakallah, before you come back to the car, they will ask you, who is that woman you are greeting? So that you marry one single wife does not mean that you will not be receiving all these questions. If you want to marry a second wife, you must be ready, or a third or a fourth wife. You must know how to create a sense of balance amongst the women when they show their ghaira. Don't forget, when they show ghaira, it doesn't mean that they are not righteous. Ghaira is real. Fihi thubutul ghaira. All what we have discussed today shows that ghaira is real amongst women. وَأَنَّهَا غَيْرُ مُسْتَنْكَرِ وُقُوئِهَا مِنْ فَضِلَاتِ النِّسَاءِ. It's not something that should be found strange when it happens amongst righteous women. فَضِلًا أَمَّنْ دُونَهُنَّ. Not to even say women who are not righteous at all. Righteous women, they have ghaira. So don't start saying, if you are righteous, you should not have ghaira. No, she should have ghaira. Women who are righteous more than her, they have ghaira. We explained at the beginning of the class what brings about that feeling of ghaira about women. So marry a righteous woman, so that when she is having ghaira, the ghaira will be controlled by her righteousness. If you go and marry a woman who is not righteous, and this sense of ghaira happens to her, she can put down the whole house. May Allah protect our homes and rectify both our men and our women. Are we going to have questions today? Because the time is already fast spent, Abu Abdurrahman.
No, ya Shaykh.
Do we have questions?
We have questions, sir.
Yeah.
First one here says, is it sinful for a woman to tell her husband not to mention her co-wife around her due to gira? That is, she doesn't even want to hear about her and her affairs.
No, it is not lawful for a woman to say that. As much as the Prophet said it, did you hear any day Āishah was telling the Prophet, hey, stop mentioning Khadija here. I beg you, don't mention Khadija. Did you hear anything of that from Āishah? So don't tell that to your husband. He's sharing his joy with you. That's one thing women don't understand. The men's side of this matter is that men like to share their joy with their wives. He's happy over his wife. He wants to share his happiness with you. That's all. He does not want to hurt you by mentioning the other woman to you. Look at what the Prophet was mentioning, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Khadija. قَدْ رُزِقْتُ حُبَّهَا. I have been blessed with the love of who? Khadija. He loves her, alayhi salatu wasalam. And he started saying what she used to do. آمَنَتْ بِي إِذْ كَفَرَ بِي النَّاسِ وَصَدَّقَتْنِي إِذْ كَذَّبَنِي النَّاسِ وَوَاسَتْنِي بِمَالِهَا إِذْ حَرَّمَنِي النَّاسِ. So all this, she was talking about it. There's another side to it about the Rahman. Women should be like Khadija and Āishah. Look at the virtues that the Prophet was counting about his wife. How many women can their husband say like that about them? Some women used to say, I don't care what you think about me. She's telling her husband that. Your husband, that your report sheet of Jannah is with him. Some women will say, I don't care about your impressions. The impressions your husband has about you is very important. Some women just say, we don't care. You can think what you feel. No. Be a good woman to your wife, to your husband. Be a good woman to your husband. So that when you are not alive, or even you may even be separated, he will still be saying good things about you. Ah, she used to do like this. Oh, she used to do like this. Oh, he used to do like this. But when you don't have a record of goodness, some men, the only thinking they have about their wife is that she's very abusive. Because her abusive nature overrides any sense of goodness that she has. It is not good for a woman to be like that. So be like Khadija. And don't be a woman who will be warning the husband. Don't talk about that woman to me. No. Āishah radiallahu anha did not prevent the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from mentioning Khadija to her. مَعَ كَثْرَةِ مَا يَذْكُرُهَا وَيُثْنِي عَلَيْهَا وَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهَا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Is this clear about that?
نعم يا شيخنا صلوات الله عليك. Can I read one more?
Now, one more before you call it again.
Okay. This one says, my co-wife is always fond of chanting and sending my husband food on my days. I have spoken to my husband about it and even related to him, but he disregarded my feelings. How do I handle this?
Well, you can see that it is lawful. The Prophet did not stop Salama from sending food to the house. It shows that it is lawful. It shows that it is lawful. It shows that it is lawful. So don't prevent it is your husband who will manage the situation. If you break the plates, no problem. We'll just make sure you have plates we can use to replace the woman's plates. So control your ghaira. Control your ghaira. So don't say it should not happen. It was happening. The Prophet did not say, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that the woman who sent food should stop sending food. In fact, he was saying about Āishah alayhi salatu wasalam, that what? Gharat umukum. Gharat umukum. Your mother became jealous. Your mother became jealous. It means that it's permissible. So if you are cooking goat meat for your husband today, the other wife may just send him a piece of chicken wrapped inside vegetable, and the husband can eat the two together. It's part of love and family life. I hope that it is clear about that. Can we stop here today? I know that this topic we have millions of questions, but I beg Allah to make it clearer than we have tried to explain. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.